What is up, everybody? I am Fabi. Today I'm going to be reviewing Makeup by Mario's latest eyeshadow palette, the Neutrals palette. Can you believe that it's been 4 years since Mario launched his original mattes palette? This one, as you can tell, leans a lot warmer. This was and still is a super popular palette. Now I'm wondering, is the formula improved in this one? Because this one wasn't known to be the most blendable formula ever. I'm gonna be creating two looks. One where the star of the show will be this blue gray right here, and then the other one will be more just using various shades of the neutral browns. Now, this will be the third time that I'm doing the looks, because after I finished both eyes, they would both look the same, even though one was meant to be gray and the other one brown. So that happened to me once, and then the second time around, I was like, okay, let me really pay attention to what brushes I'm using, making sure that I'm not mixing them up and using the brushes that I used for the gray look on the brown look. So I thought I was paying attention, and the looks looked the same. They both looked gray. But this time around, I'm paying more attention. I busted out my little case here of all of these brushes are clean. This is the clean brushes. Oh, it says drying, but they're really clean. These are the clean brushes. So these I will use for the brown look. And I'm gonna put them aside so I can't touch them. All right, let's do this. I have already primed my lids with my Anastasia lid primer. I am going to stay in this column. Okay, so I'm starting with this shade right here, and this is going to be just the base, just to give me an even color here throughout my lid. And it might seem unnecessary to you. Why are you using this shade, which basically looks like your own skin tone? What's the point? Well, in this particular case, since we're testing out the palette for the first time, I want to see whether the shades are different enough from each other. So in this case, I'm getting a nice base color. With the next shade, I expect to see more of a shadow being created on the crease, which is where I'm gonna put it. And I wouldn't think that this shade is going to give me depth, but again, I've already done this several times. So I know that this shade does create a very subtle, you see how you can start building the shadow? This is what I like about this formula, that it goes on soft. Mind you, it's powdery. Let me just show you up close. You see how powdery it is? It doesn't really bother me, but you just have to make sure to tap it before you go in with it. And it looks peachy, it looks pinkish on the pan, but it doesn't look pink on me whatsoever. It's actually more of like, see that? It's more of a shadow shade. And I'm just building this shade right here along the crease and maybe bring it out a little bit. Just like that. Okay, I'm going in with the gray and a very fluffy brush. So again, I'm gonna just place it here on my crease, a little bit below the previous shade. And then I'm gonna take some more and I'm placing it here in the outer third, and I'm starting to build the V shape. So I'm gonna pinch a brush, and actually I'm gonna go first on my lower lash line with this shade that we put on the crease and just run it all across the lower lash line. This is going to be a smoky look, and I'm just blending out that gray shade a little bit more. I am gonna go in and reinforce it, but let me get the background blend of the gray to be as soft as I want it to be. So now I am going to build it up a bit. I'm gonna take the gray again, and I'm gonna tap it here right above and on the lashes. And then with the airy brush again, and work it on the crease. All right, looking good. Okay, now when I'm looking straight, I see that I want the gray to come up higher. It's kind of getting lost there in the fold. So I am going to relax my eyes and start taking that gray shade right here over the fold so that I can see it when my eyes are relaxed. Not like this, when my eyes are like this. For the next step, I want to brighten up this area of the lid. So I am gonna take this color right here, and I want to pack it, yeah, right there. And I really like this color for this purpose. You see how it brightens it? It looks like it's just like a skin tone. It's not looking stark or harsh. It brings the brightness back in a beautiful way. It's like in an elegant way. I'm sure that you have seen eyeshadow palettes with light shades. Even this white that I was initially scared of, but we're gonna use it on the other look. And they turned out to be a chalky formula that wouldn't want to blend with the other shades on your eye. Well, this is not the case. Now I'm taking the gray, again in a very pointy, tiny brush. This is a Refer 23, and I want to put it on the lower lash line. I am gonna go in with this shade that we put all over the lid, and I'm gonna use it to help me soften that edge and to transition from the gray to my skin tone. And I'm gonna do the same thing with a fluffy brush. I'm gonna take this shade and I'm just gonna run it along the edges, kind of everywhere, just to soften things in general. Now for eyeliner, I'm gonna use this one from Give, which I really like. I really like the texture. It goes on really smoothly. I have it in the shade Acting Shady. And I'm also going to use it to tightline. And now I'm gonna put it here on the waterline as well. Now for the second eye look, we're gonna use the browns with clean brushes. I'm gonna start with a Scott Barnes brush number 62. Yes, with this shade actually. And then with this E4 brush from Makeup by Mario, I'm taking that same shade and I'm putting it here on the lower lash line. Now I'm going to start defining the crease with this E32 Sigma brush, and this shade right here, this is Mario's favorite brown shade. So let's check it out. Okay, so far so good. This is definitely looking like brown and this is gray. Like there's a definite distinction between the two. So I must have mixed up my brushes by accident. What I've been noticing with this formula is that, and this is a clean brush that I'm gonna use to kind of just blend everything. I'm gonna run it over everything to soften the edges. So what I was saying is that this formula, it feels like the moment that you start putting on the color on your lid, it's like it wants to blend. Let me show you an example. The exact moment when I realized this was when I took the white, fully expecting that this was gonna be a chalky mess, and I placed it, and look how I am tapping. You see how it's already blending in? I'm just tapping it, and look how it just melts in with the surrounding shade. I think that's very impressive. And I'm just gonna continue defining the V. His original mattes palette. Now 4 years is a long time and there have been several brands. I'm just going to go in with this one all over. And there have been several brands that have come out with their own matte palettes. Patrick Ta's Major Dimension 3, where he put a row of cool tones and of warm tones. And Dennis and Myricks came out with the Groundworks palette. It was an innovation in and of itself because of the putty textures that it comes with. And then like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before this Mario launch, Kim Kardashian came up with her own mattes palette. And what's interesting is that, I mean, they're buddies, right? I feel like they should have spaced out their launches a little bit more, because now it's like, oh, should I get the Kim one or the Mario one? I know there's a lot of people that have strong feelings about Kim Kardashian, but we can't deny that it's a really good formula. I did a review, I will link it here and at the end of this video. So this palette has a lot of competition. If you are in the market wanting to get a neutrals palette, how are you gonna decide? I'm very interested in this. What would be the deciding factor for you? Say that you're looking for a neutrals palette. Tell me, are you looking at any of the ones that I just mentioned? Which one are you leaning towards and why? They all have their differences. For example, Mario, this is the only one that comes with a straight up blue gray. Patrick Ta doesn't have that blue gray, but it does have warm tones in one palette, which makes it super versatile, especially because he includes these cream shades, which at first I did not know what to do with them until I watched him work with them, and then I got it. If you compare these creams, not to go off on a too far of a tangent, but these creams are not the same texture as his previous palette, okay? Those were soft and really slippy, and they never set down at all, and they seemed thinner, and their purpose was mainly to prime the eye, okay? To serve as that layer that adds tack and for the eyeshadows to stick to. But these you can use as liners. He has a black one and then the brown one, but I find them particularly useful to build depth quickly. Like, I'll use this brown to just kind of like trace the V of the eye and give it a blend, the degree of depth that cream gives you. It's a shortcut. And then you have the Dennis & Meyer's Groundwork palette, and you still have his original palette as an option. And now you have this other one. So yeah, how are you going about figuring out which palette to get? What's your criteria? I still have to match the depth. So I'm gonna keep going in with this guy. Rougher 28, and I'm gonna go in with Mario's Perfect Brown. Let's just bring back the white a little bit more. And I'm gonna put that same white on the inner corner. And also right under the brow bone. Just a little bit like that. And finally, I want to go over the edges with this one. That's one thing, that the blendability of this formula is fantastic. Very easy to work with. Let's go in with some brown eyeliner. This is the Perfect Brown from Makeup by Mario, and I am going to do the same thing as I did on the previous side. And with the brush, I'm just gonna soften it. Finally, let's do the waterline. Well, not finally, because we're gonna do mascara in a minute. Now for mascara, I'm gonna use YSL Lash Clash, and this is one that I'm liking more and more with each use. At first I just didn't think this wand was gonna work very well because the bristles seemed really close together and kind of short, and I thought they were just gonna brush over the surface of them without really getting in there and kind of like raking the product through the lashes, but it is very effective. All right, for blush, I want a neutral shade, so I am going to be using Flirtatious from Pat McGrath. Yeah, and as you can see, it pairs so well with those neutral tones. All right, so I just finished with the eye looks. Wear test officially begins. It is 1:45 p.m. So far I wanted to mention just a couple of notes that I made regarding the formulas. They are both, I wish I could tell you, okay, one is definitely better than the other. At this point, they're both really, really good. My favorite part is the blendability. They really want to just make the blending effortless, and they do make it effortless. They layer well on top of each other. They're both powdery, so if you don't like fallout, then that might be a con, but that's up to you. The pigmentation is there, the blendability is fantastic. I am so curious to see what is gonna happen at the end of the day, because I wanna be able to tell you A is better than B, basically, pretty much. I wanna be able to guide you and direct you accurately towards whichever one is best. I did prime my eyelids with my Anastasia eyeshadow primer, and I will catch you in a few hours, okay? Pretend this is a really cool transition. 4 hours later, nothing to report. Both eyeshadows are looking the same. There is no creasing. So yeah, no creasing, no fading. I'll see you again in a few hours. All right, this is a final check-in. We are looking at 9 hours of wear, and both sides are looking pretty much identical. As you can see, the eyeshadows have not faded. They're looking great. Both sides are looking great. What I am seeing is that if you want to be super nitpicky, they are creasing just a tiny bit on this side right here. This is the Kim side, and in the Mario side right there. So maybe Mario's creasing a little bit less than the Kim palette, but really the difference is almost insignificant. So this might be a matter of who you want to support, right? Do you want to buy a Makeup by Mario product or this one from Kim? A new video I'm working on, it's gonna come out really soon, and that's where I'm doing a showdown of the latest matte palettes that have been released. And I'm gonna tell you who each one is for, like who I would recommend it for based on your needs and your preferences. But for now, let's stick to talking just about the Mario palette. I like it more than I thought I would. It's hard to really appreciate the shades until you get them on your eyes, especially like something like this, the one that I put on the crease on, not this look, previous look. They're useful. The shades, I feel that they are nuanced. Behind this palette, you have somebody who understands color theory and how to put together an eyeshadow palette. If you're the type of person that normally wears just, let's say, bronzer on your lids and that's it and you call it a day, and you're looking for an eyeshadow palette, would I recommend this? Absolutely. Yes, hands down, I would say yes, this is definitely a very good choice. But yeah, more on that and a lot more comparisons in the showdown that I mentioned earlier. And while the formula has improved, it is very powdery. So remember, if you don't like that, you're gonna have an issue with this palette. Aside from that, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. If you learned something in this video, if you found it helpful, remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one.